epilepsy warning for flashing lights and colors. Some of the most unique and flat-out insane roller coasters on Earth are located in Japan. Whether it's bizarre theming or out-of-this-world intensity, the country has plenty of thrills to offer. So as voted on by the viewers, here are the top 10 most insane Japanese roller coasters. Number 10. Takabisha at Fuji Highland. For decades, Fuji Highland has been pushing out memorable coasters. Among its most successful attractions is Takabisha. This ride really stands out as one of the most innovative and insane coasters on Earth. Built by German manufacturer Gerstlauer, this Eurofighter model has an incredibly ambitious layout. Right out of the gate, Takabisha doesn't hold back. Riders are launched at 62 miles per hour into a balls-to-the-wall layout of 7 inversions. Among these is the world's first banana roll. This twice-inverting element gets its name from its banana-like shape when viewed from certain angles. 8 years after Takabisha first introduced it, we began to see more of these elements, and it currently exists on 7 coasters total worldwide. Next is a vertical lift hill, where riders are taken up 141 feet before plunging into a 121 degree beyond vertical drop. This freefall quite literally folds riders underneath the track. For years, this was the steepest drop on any coaster, until its near clone, TMNT Shellraiser, opened at Nickelodeon Universe in New Jersey. At only half a degree steeper though, it's hard to tell the difference. However, after losing its record, Takabisha remains the more reliable attraction. Unlike Shellraiser, which has been plagued with downtime and maintenance issues, Takabisha is said to have much more uptime. This ride really has everything: speed, inversions, and that legendary drop. Well worthy of being one of the country's top coasters. Number 9. Steel Dragon 2000 at Nagashima Spa Land. Few coasters on Earth can match the sheer scale of Steel Dragon 2000. Built to celebrate the Year of the Dragon, this massive steel beast was the perfect way to ring in the new millennium. This full-circuit masterpiece stands at 318 feet tall, classifying it as one of only a handful of gigacoasters out there. With the top speed of 95 miles per hour, Steel Dragon 2000 was the tallest and fastest full-circuit roller coaster on Earth when it debuted. Though the records have since been broken, one title remains untouched. As of today, Steel Dragon 2000 is the longest steel coaster in the world, stretching to an unbelievable 8,133 feet. Of course, this record is set to be broken by Saudi Arabia's Falcon's Flight, but the fact that the record was unbroken for decades really emphasizes how ambitious the ride was. Also worth noting, because this area of Japan is prone to earthquakes, engineers had to reinforce the ride with way more steel than usual. As a result, the structure is noticeably more dense and sturdy. This also made Steel Dragon 2000 insanely expensive, costing a staggering $52 million. Even now, it remains the most expensive non-Disney, non-Universal, and non-Saudi Arabian coaster ever built. As for the ride itself, Steel Dragon 2000 is a marathon of massive airtime hills and sweeping bank turns. The whole thing gives you a relentless sense of speed from start to finish, and it's an out-of-this-world experience. Number 8. Spin Runway at Yomiuri Land. In the mid-2000s, Yomiuri Land debuted the new zone Good Jaba. Themed to Japanese craftsmanship, this area is a tribute to multiple manufacturing industries. Each industry has its own mock factory with a unique set of attractions and an official sponsor. For this section of the list, we're talking about the Fashion Factory, sponsored by sewing machine manufacturer Shima Saiki. Here, you can find a spinning coaster named Spin Runway. Manufactured by Gerstlauer, this coaster takes place inside of a giant mock clothing factory. The first part of this coaster is a dark ride portion, which takes you through the process of manufacturing clothes. Sheets of fabric hang from the ceiling, riders get misted by a giant clothing iron, and you'll pass under a giant pair of scissors. Soon afterwards, you'll ascend a spiral lift hill with colorful projections on the walls and fashion items on the ceiling. What follows the lift is a psychedelic, disorienting thrill ride where darkness, light, and color all combine into a swirling momentum of, well, there's a lot of cool and pretty colors, basically. In all seriousness, this is a solid and extremely creative attraction, and definitely one of the most memorable themes on a spinning coaster. One thing that's especially interesting about this coaster is that it actually allowed riders to take pictures on it with their smartphones. Now, don't worry, because this was because the park actually provided wrist straps to guests so that they could take their phones on board. That said, the website still says that this was discontinued during the pandemic, and I'm not sure if it was brought back. Overall though, if you love both fashion and thrill rides, head on down to Yomiuri Land and strike a pose. Number 7. Adventure Drive at Suzuka Circuit Motopia. From the maker of the infamously banked yet shockingly smooth jet roller comes a coaster with perhaps the most unusual launch system on the planet. On this coaster, riders board jeep-like vehicles and set off on a mystical journey through a dense forest. Eventually, passengers approach what's called a power ring. At this part of the coaster, riders are instructed to shout the word power as loud as they can, so your job is pretty much to do your best Jeremy Clarkson impression. And here's the crazy part, the ride's cable launch system is actually hooked up to a microphone. The louder passengers yell, the faster the launch is. Of course, the ride will still launch even if you stay silent, but if you want to hit that top speed, you've got to be as loud as possible. This makes Adventure Drive the only noise-powered launch coaster in the world, and it's surprising that more parks haven't tried something like this. It's not a super high-intensity thrill ride, but it's still an incredibly charming concept. It may not be the biggest or fastest ride out there, but in terms of pure creativity, Adventure Drive is in a league of its own. Number 6. Geekon Live at Tokyo Joy Bliss. Forget virtual reality. Geekon Live at Tokyo Joy Bliss is a full-on interactive video game experience. Located inside of one of Japan's most famous indoor parks, this ride stands with Spin Runway as one of the most unique spinning coasters on the planet. Originally opening as Veil of Dark, this ride was groundbreaking in many ways. It was the first ever launch spinning coaster, the first ever spinning coaster to feature an inversion, and, at the time, a full-fledged shooting dark ride. On the original ride, riders took aim at targets using controllers on their restraints. In 2016 though, the ride evolved into something even more ambitious, a rhythm game coaster. Now, the experience begins with riders approaching massive screens. Each passenger is equipped with 3 buttons on their restraints. As music plays, their goal is to press the connect buttons in sync with the beat, kind of like Friday Night Funkin' or Parappa the Rapper. The game was originally themed to Neon Genesis Evangelion, but now it has a Sonic the Hedgehog game. After a few rounds of rhythm gameplay, the coaster launches forwards, sending riders through a series of winding turns and its signature inline twist. All the while, the spinning motion turns your surroundings into a virtual whirlwind. At the end, riders receive a score based on their accuracy, adding a layer of friendly competition to the mix. Because it's entirely indoors, you'll never have to worry about rain shutting it down. So feel free to give this a shot if you're ever in Tokyo. We're only about halfway through this lineup of Japan's wildest roller coasters, and if you're a thrill seeker, you might just want to experience them for yourself. Of course, planning an international trip can be a bit overwhelming, but that's where today's sponsor, Klook, comes in. If you're thinking about visiting Japan, Klook is the ultimate platform to simplify your travel plans. With thousands of destinations worldwide, they offer competitive pricing and a user-friendly app that supports over a dozen languages and 40 currencies. Sure to make booking a breeze. Using Klook is incredibly easy. Just sign in, browse a massive selection of experiences, and secure your next adventure in minutes. Whether you're interested in cultural experiences, guided tours, or one-of-a-kind theme park adventures, Klook has something for everyone. And for thrill seekers, that means access to some of Japan's top coaster destinations. We're talking Fuji Highland, Nagashima Spa Land, Universal Studios Japan, and many more. But it's not just Japan. Klook also offers discounts for theme parks worldwide, including Six Flags Magic Mountain, Everland in South Korea, and Universal Studios Singapore. Even better, Klook is constantly rolling out new discounts, special promotions, and flash sales. This way, you can save big on tours and activities across Japan, South Korea, and beyond. And the best part, with my promo code ThemeParkCrazy, you'll get an extra 10% off. And yes, that can be stacked with most other Klook discounts. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description, download the Klook app, and use my promo code ThemeParkCrazy to start planning your ultimate thrill-seeking getaway today. Special thanks to Klook for sponsoring this video. Number 5. Thunder Dolphin at Tokyo Dome City. Zooming through the heart of the world's busiest metropolis, Thunder Dolphin at Tokyo Dome City is one of the most surreal roller coasters out there. This intimate mega coaster, quite simply, is all about location. Situated among Tokyo's cityscape, Thunder Dolphin delivers an experience unlike any other. Standing 262 feet tall, this massive hypercoaster rockets through its layout at over 80 miles an hour. But what truly sets it apart is its unbelievable urban scenery. This attraction offers some of the most stunning views of Tokyo as it snakes around buildings and even dives through one of them. It even pierces the center of a massive Ferris wheel. We've all done this in Planet Coaster, but here it is in real life. No other ride in the world makes you feel like you're flying through a city quite like this one. This coaster is an absolute spectacle and a must ride for sure. Number 4. Big Boom at Nasu Highland Park. Big Boom is considered by many well-traveled enthusiasts to be both bizarre and highly underrated. First opening in 1982, this ride was actually a looping shuttle coaster. Built by Japanese manufacturer Meisho, it was later transformed into a full circuit ride in 1987. The result, like the name of the ride, is sure to blow you away. By far the craziest part about this coaster is the absolutely insane first drop. Passengers will plunge 126 feet at a ridiculously steep angle, and they'll experience some of the most psychotic ejector airtime ever. From the drop, the ride moves into an airtime hill and the same vertical loop from the ride's shuttle coaster days. Finally, the layout tops everything off with an extremely unusual braking system. Placed on a downward section, this system actually uses friction wheels on the sides instead of traditional brakes. It's definitely not your average brake system. To sum it up, Big Boom is short, strange, insane, and filled with design quirks. For those of you who adore hidden gems, this ride definitely lives up to its explosive name. Number 3. Gao at Greenland. Located in southern Japan, this park isn't as well known as your Fuji Q Highlands and Nagashima Spa Lands, but nevertheless, it has perhaps the most bizarre looking coaster element you'll come across. Originally, this was a standard looping coaster, once again by Meisho. According to RCDB, its loop was later removed. Nowadays, it has a very memorable element in it. This features a truly unusual dinosaur sculpture that's part of the ride's structure. The best way to describe it is like an unfinished rendering of a 3D model, with the feet, back scales, tail, and head rendered, but the rest of the body is a wireframe. The coaster's track actually goes up and down the dinosaur sculpture along its back and between its scales. The park's website says the dinosaur is a Stegosaurus, but I don't recall Stegosauruses having nose horns or alien antennas. And who is the girl standing on his head in overalls and a construction hat? I tried to look up information about the lore of this ride, but I came up short, so if anyone wants to comment, feel free to do so. Also worth noting, the train's front car is actually being driven by a miniature dinosaur, which is just flat out adorable. The layout itself isn't anything too memorable, but it is over a mile long, so you get a pretty good bang for your buck. Quirky, charming, and prehistoric, Gao is the perfect attraction for dinosaur fans of all ages, except over 65 according to the website. Number 2. Ultra Twister at the Rusutsu Resort. Introducing the Ultra Twister model, a truly bizarre coaster creation from Japanese manufacturer Togo. This ride surrounds passengers in a twisting tubular pipeline of steel. Formerly at parks like Six Flags Great Adventure and Six Flags Astroworld, these coasters can now only be found in Japan, with just 3 in operation. But among the remaining 3, one stands out as the most unique, the Ultra Twister at Rusutsu Resort on the island of Hokkaido. Unlike its siblings, this version features a dive loop, the only Ultra Twister ever built with this element. And that's on top of the ride's 3 signature Heartline rolls, giving it more inversions than any other Ultra Twister. It may not be the longest ride out there, but this small coaster packs a serious punch. With its tight footprint, intense forces, and that one-of-a-kind dive loop, the Rusutsu Resort's Ultra Twister is truly wild. Number 1. Eejanaika at Fuji Q Highland. If you thought X2 was a diabolical psychopath, get ready to crank up the chaos even further. Located at Fuji Highland, Eejanaika is X2's bigger, badder, and bolder cousin. This ride takes the concept of a 4D coaster to an entirely new level. After X2's manufacturer Aerodynamics went bankrupt, their assets were picked up by S&S Power, now S&S Sansei. S&S refined the 4D design and brought it across the Pacific to both China's Dinosaur Park and the one and only Fuji Highland. First opening in 2006, Eejanaika stands taller, longer, and faster than X2, with a layout that somehow manages to be even crazier. Both coasters have similar elements, but Eejanaika's extended course allows for even more madness. Perhaps the most jaw-dropping element is a 0G roll that comes right after a Raven turn. Here, riders are flipped in ways that seem to defy physics. Just like X2, Eejanaika has rotating seats, but the rotations on the ladder are smoother and even more intense. In another crazy moment, passengers speed into the final brake run face down, inches away from the platform. I think it's fitting to describe this ride as pure non-stop mayhem. From start to finish, there are no breathers and no mercy. And as I've said before, it's fitting that this park is right next to Mount Fuji, because Eejanaika is an eruption of intensity you won't soon forget. Now it's time for the comment shoutout program. This is where I take 5 random comments from my previous video and read them out. These comments come from my video on unsolved coaster mysteries. Friendly Pork Chop says, when I was at Knott's in December, by far the best time of year to go by the way, they were still advertising Montezuma as reopening in 2025, so shrug. LSM Jensen 13 says, hey, loving the vids, thanks for educating me on all these roller coasters and rides. Definitely the best roller coaster content creator out there. Thank you, Jensen. Binny's Dwakey 14.3 says, okay, but why does Yama whatever have the Mercedes-Benz logo? Noah Mendoza 2993 says, I think the worm ate the giant apple. And Lincoln CWYNAR 1547 says, maybe King Kong was hungry and devoured the apple. If you want to see your words in my next video, leave a comment down below and it may be selected. Please note though that inflammatory or spam comments will not be read. Finally, here's a special shout out to my newest Hyper and Giga tier Patreon members. Andy Lopez, Georgia, Chris Cusera, and RideOpJ. Thank you all so much, and if you want to support me on Patreon, you can do so once again at the link in the description. Thanks for watching, everyone. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me on social media on Instagram and Facebook, or you can check out my website at themeparkcrazy.com. And I'm on TikTok. This is Theme Park Crazy, and I'll see you all next time.